What is going on in 2025? I guess he did it. This all, I don't even understand what's going on. George Santos commuted from jail. Huh? That's crazy. Trump did it, huh? Let's talk about it. Let's see what's going on because everybody's going in about this. I mean, it was good. I'm in a felon. Birds of a feather flock together. Let's break it down. So, President Donald Trump said Friday he had commuted the sentence of former U.S. Rep. George Santos, who was slated to serve more than 7 years in federal prison after pleading guilty to fraud and identity theft charges. Joseph Murray, one of Santos' lawyers, told the Associated Press late Friday that the former lawmaker was released from the federal correctional institution in Farrington, New Jersey around 11 p.m. and was greeted outside by his facility by his family. The New York Republican was sentenced in April after admitting last year to deceiving donors and stealing the identities of 11 people. Oh my God, including his own family members, and they still came to hey man, to make donations to his campaign. That's crazy. I think about that story about that woman that went to jail just because she went from different districts. She brought her child to a different district when it came to schools. I don't know, man. This is crazy. What a timeline we're in. So I want to talk about this real quick. I got some creators we're gonna react to because I want them to help me organize my thoughts, and I want to know what y'all think. George Santos, this criminal. First the Jan 6 insurrectionist. Now, this guy, man. I remember the guy. He also released the guy who stole taxpayer money from his employees. This guy Trump, man. Let's see what people have to say about this.
Got some breaking news just in the last hour. Former New York Congressman George Santos, who was serving 87 months in federal prison for wire fraud and identity theft, just got a commutation by President Trump. The president posted on social media that Santos was merely, quote, rogue, one of many throughout our country that aren't forced to serve 7 years in prison. He added George had been in solitary confinement for long stretches of the time and by all accounts has been horribly mistreated. Therefore, I just signed a commutation releasing George Santos from prison immediately. Good luck, George. Have a great life. Wow. End quote. Santos was found to have embezzled campaign donor funds for his personal use. He was buying a lot of fancy clothes for himself. He fraudulently obtained COVID jobless benefits while fully employed. And while not a crime, Santos is known to be a compulsive liar. He claimed to have been a financier at Goldman Sachs. Not true. He famously claimed to be Jewish and then walked it back, saying he was slightly Jew-ish. Then he claimed he ran a pet charity when all he did was raise $3,000 for a sick dog, which turned out to be completely healthy. But all that is in the past. It is a new day for George Santos.
Wow. What a slap in the face. Wow. Of the justice system. Just perverted, man. Let's keep going.
Donald Trump just announced that he's commuting the 7-year prison sentence for former Republican Congressman George Santos. He was convicted of wire fraud and identity theft. He admitted to embezzling funds from campaign donors, charging credit cards without authorization, stealing identities, and collecting unemployment benefits fraudulently.
If he's willing to release someone at this point, those type of people, him, George Santos, the Jan 6 insurrectionists, and the guy he released that was let me see if I can find out. This guy, presidential and opinion piece on Newsweek. In one of the most famous scenes of The Godfather, Don Corleone rejects a lucrative business opportunity because it involves narcotics. Don explained our dirty business. That quote came to mind when the news broke about President Donald Trump's recent pardon of Paul Walsack. When I learned about Walsack and circumstances surrounding the president's exercise of his constitutional authority to liberate him, I instantly thought pardons are dirty business. According to the Justice Department, Walsack pled guilty in November 2024 to cheating on his taxes for years, amounting to nearly $11 million in stolen taxes. Beyond the large amount that he stole, the details of Walsack's frauds are even more sordid. Yeah, this is the guy. Walsack has been in an inveterate tax scofflaw since at least 2011. In short, he ran a web of healthcare companies, withheld $7.5 million of his employees' wages, and kept the money. He also pocketed $3.8 million of Social Security and Medicare taxes. He did all of that from 2016 to 2019 after he had already been penalized by the IRS for doing the exact same thing. To add insult to injury, Walsack also failed to pay his personal taxes from 2019 to 2020, even though he received salary of $360,000 and transfers of nearly $500,000. Wow, crazy. To make matters worse, Walsack used the ill-gotten millions to spend lavishly on himself, including private flights and a yacht that cost over $2 million, while Walsack was withholding taxes from the pay of his employees under pretext of paying these funds to the IRS. He used over $1 million from his business bank account to purchase a yacht, transferred hundreds of thousands of dollars to his personal bank accounts, and used the business accounts for personal purchases at retailers such as Bergdorf Goodman, Cartier, and Saks. Notably, the prosecutor reportedly told that court that Walsack did not act out of desperation. He was already rich. Rather, he took $10 million in taxes from the government simply because he wasn't getting rich enough. Why would President Trump decide to use his special constitutional authority to liberate Walsack before he paid any penalty whatsoever? We know, thanks to the report of New York Times, Walsack's mother, reportedly longtime Republican donor and Trump supporter who just happened to attend a $1 million per person Trump fundraiser that promised to face-to-face access to Mr. Trump at his private Mar-A-Lago club in Palm Beach, Florida. Less than 3 weeks later, and shortly before Walsack was due to go to prison for his 18-month sentence, the president pardoned him, despite his long years of abuse of the tax system, which he admitted Walsack will get scot-free. That's crazy.
You guys have already seen that Trump has bailed out George Santos.
Right.
First, we had to pardon the guy who tased the cop in the neck. First, Trump pardoned that guy. Then Trump had to bail out Argentina randomly for $40 billion. And now we are bailing out George Santos, a.k.a. Anthony DeVolder. And I thought I would take a moment to remind everybody what type of guy George Santos is. George pled guilty to unemployment fraud. He was totally mooching off the government illegally while he had a job. And George also pled guilty to taking the credit card numbers of his own fans.
This is what they claim immigrants are doing. This is what the undocumented immigrants are doing. And this is crazy.
His own campaign donors. He took their credit card numbers, moved thousands of dollars from their account to his account, and then he spent that money on OnlyFans subscriptions and fancy clothing. And Trump saw that guy and he thought, that's my boy. That's my boy. Get in here, George. You're one of us. Because this is what Trump and the entire Republican Party stand for. And make no mistake, this is the only thing they stand for, is making sure that rich people can get away with their crimes. Trump and George don't give a shit about grocery prices or health care or gas prices or mortgages. None of that shit. All they care about is making sure that rich people can quite literally take money out of their own fans' pockets and get away with it.
Right.
That's it. And now the real question is, will Trump pardon Ghislaine Maxwell? Because I bet he will. I bet he will. And you know what? His fans are just going to swallow it. They'll probably...
And they're going to be like, yo, he's commuting the sentence, which is basically a less severe punishment, which is the fact that he's willing to do it. It's the principle that he's willing to do that. That's the problem.
New York Congressman George Santos is now a free man after President Trump commuted his 7-year prison sentence last night. Santos' lawyer confirmed he was released from a New Jersey prison last night after serving less than 3 months of his full sentence. The former congressman reported to prison in July after pleading guilty to wire fraud and aggravated identity theft. Trump indicated he thought Santos' sentence was extreme and justified the pardon by comparing it to a 15-year-old controversy involving Senator Richard Blumenthal, where he misrepresented his military service. The president wrote on Truth Social, and I'm quoting here, "This is far worse."
The nightmare, what do you say?
than what George Santos did, and at least Santos had the courage, conviction, and intelligence to, all caps, always vote Republican. George has been in solitary confinement for long
sentences. Laughing in the background.
Long stretches of time, and by all accounts, has been horribly mistreated. Therefore, I just signed a commutation.
This is crazy. This is everything they claimed the Democrats were doing, and look what happened. Hypocrisy, man. I've always said the fall of this country, the fall, if it happens, if we don't fight back, stand up, and speak up, is going to be through willful ignorance, hypocrisy, intellectual dishonesty. It's just, yeah. You know, and the nightmare of all this is just thinking, like, when I was growing up, thinking about all those conviction rates of black individuals, black people in the black community that would just get the book thrown at them. And it would make it seem like it's impossible to try to do the right thing about, to go right, to do right, to commute, you know, give less sentences, especially if evidence has shown the truth that these people don't deserve to be in jail for crimes they didn't commit or crimes that seem to be petty and they need to be harsh. I think about Khalif Browder in this sense, you know, and how people can fall through the cracks, and look how easily, and the nightmare is, look, the other side of America, because there's two sides to America, is this, you know, just to get away, the pardon of these type of individuals because you match a certain complexion that they're willing to forgive. Wow.
So Donald Trump just commuted the sentence of George Santos and released him immediately from prison. Now, this is a terrible human being who defrauded everybody, lied constantly, and destroyed the credibility of the entire process for putting people in Congress. And you think about it, it was a massive fraud upon the voters, the American people, everything. What a mockery of our system. And, you know, this is a clear sign the pardon power, although it's constitutional, is got to be fixed. It's part of the post-Trump rehabilitation process this country's going to have to go through. Because he is probably already, and I've been saying this for a while, given a pardon to everybody in his cabinet. That's why they go before Congress and just blatantly lie.
Right.
You know, I just go back through George Santos and his crimes, and this is just a sign. He was absolutely undeserving of it. It is only about giving those people who support Trump license to do anything. On top of that, he says he was horribly mistreated in prison. He wasn't. Prison is just a bad place to be. When you do bad stuff, that's what happens. That's the whole point of punishment.
It's like he's like Voldemort, man, and when with Peter Pettigrew, and that scene, you know, it's crazy. But I want to know what y'all think. Is this what we voted for? At least, hey, I didn't vote for him. I mean, is this what y'all voted for? This is what you want him to do? Is this the focus he should be focusing on? You know, pardoning people like this and nothing really done much for the American people? Is this where we at? I want to know what y'all think. Comment below. What a timeline. Comment below. Like and subscribe. It goes for a long way for me. I appreciate it. See you in the next video.